Good afternoon, everybody. I'm your host, Crystal. This is another edition of the 9 o'clock Meltdown podcast. And over Facebook, I have the wonderful, funny, and extremely talented Jennie McNulty. Hello.
Hello. How are you doing today, Crystal?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with me and the wider world about your comedy, your life in general. We were just talking a little earlier, and you've got a brand new microphone in your at-home studio.
I do, yes.
And
Yeah,
it's
so hopefully this sounds really good to you people.
it sounds amazing. There's this wonderful richness to your voice. And now you were saying that
The mic, I normally sound like this.
oh, I know how that goes. Oh,
No,
I
I
know.
sound just like you, Crystal, because I lived in Minnesota for 2 years, you betcha. It elongates them vowels, yeah, it does.
Whereabouts in Minnesota did you live?
I lived right by Lake Nokomis in Minneapolis.
Oh, all right. What brought you to Minneapolis?
My sister lived there, and had been doing comedy for a couple of years, and you never get respect in your own backyard. So I was doing a bunch of road gigs for the Hansons, who had a bunch of comedy clubs up there, and they had just opened up a club in Minneapolis. It was an all-female club. It was women headliners, women, middle acts, MCs. The whole thing was female. I did a lot of work with them. My sister lived there, so I moved up there for a couple of years. And then I went back to Detroit and then out to LA. But anyway, my stuff lived there more than I did. I was on the road a lot.
So you've got kind of that tour background.
Yeah, oh yeah. The first 10 years of my comedy career I put over 345,000 miles on a car.
Fabulous. So,
Yeah.
so did you tour with other comedy acts, or you said
No, it's when I started doing comedy a million years ago, there were clubs everywhere. So it was like right in the early 90s, late 80s when there was just a comedy boom, and there were like Oklahoma City had 3 clubs. Like literally 2 it was a husband and wife that had gotten divorced, and they had comedy club across the street from one another. It was twisted. But comics at that point, it was really because in order to get good at comedy, you have to keep doing it. And it's not like, an instrument that you can pick up and practice on your own and know if it sounds good or not. You really can't do that with comedy. And you can think it's funny as hell, but if the audience, isn't responding. So the key is getting on stage time. And I was really fortunate when I first started doing it. I worked with this guy who owned a club in Kansas City, and he's like, come on out, I'll book you in my club. So when I was there, they had another club in Kansas City, and I auditioned there. So you just kind of like, I slowly built this little work, but it was all my own tour. I mean, occasionally I would do shows with somebody, but for the most part, you just reach out to the club bookers and go, hey, I'm going to be in your area and at such and such a time, or just reach out to them and tour around somebody. So like once you get a gig in one city locked down, then you want to try to, especially if you're driving far, you want to kind of get as many as you can. And at the time, there were a lot of one-nighters and stuff to do. But as an interesting aside, as I'm rambling,
You're fine.
I would call clubs and I would get a lot. Oh, we've already got a girl on the bill that week, and it used to make me laugh because it used to piss me off actually. But it is kind of ironic in that big sports person that I am. At the time, I thought I was still a straight girl, but I did if you talk about because the reason that they supposedly didn't want more than one female on the bill was we all talked about the same thing. It's all man bashing in periods, and I never did either of those things. I took sports, so for me, putting me on the bill with a bunch of old white guys is going to be far more of a conflict than putting me on stage with other female acts. But nonetheless, I would call and they'd be like, no, sorry, we can't use that. We already got a girl on the bill.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And Jennie, you're actually not the first person to kind of go into it. It was kind of a man's world is what I kind of got out of that. Susan Mazzino, she is a rock and roll journalist and a published author, and one of my friends, she hangs out with like AC/DC and Van Halen back in the day, and she actually had a very similar point to yours, that in a man's world, you really have to fight for it, and you have to put up with a lot of crap.
You do.
So,
and you have to be 3 times funnier than they are to be accepted as equal, It was just insane. But and it's like that in every field, It's not just, not it field, but it's like that a lot in life for whatever. Whether it's, your gender or your orientation or your race or what have you, sometimes you just have to keep pushing on. And at the time, like I said, I thought I was a straight girl. And the man I was with at the time, lovely fellow. He is African American, and I was doing comedy in this. It was a comedy contest, and I went up first, and it was an audience judged thing, which is the kiss of death, because basically I was the warm up act. By the time the audience, gets to the last act, they kind of forgotten you. And I, whether I would have won or not, I don't know if that affected anything. But what did affect me was afterward, this guy came up to me and he's like, "Oh, Jenny, man, you know what? You got ripped off, man. You're one of the funniest females in Detroit." And I thanks Mario, whatever. And and then I thought later I was furious because I'm like, why does he have to see me as just a female comedian? I just wanted to be comic, right? And so I was lamenting this fact to the man that I was with, and he goes, "You know what? There's not one day that one person or one thing doesn't remind me I'm black. You can't focus on that. You've just got to keep doing your own thing and keep pushing forward." And it's some of the best advice in life, not just in comedy, is yes, you have to be aware of it, but you can't really do anything about it other than continue to do your job, well, so that the more people they see in your field, whatever it is, whether it's comedy or what have you, the more people they see of your gender, your race, your orientation, what have you, doing well, then it becomes a normal thing. I mean, look at the big changes in society that have happened just, relatively quickly, I mean, at time, it feels slow, especially if you're the person being discriminated against, but we're getting there, hopefully. If we don't burn the planet up. Well, actually, the planet will be here. The race might not. The planet's going to be here till the sun explodes, but the people, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, we are our own worst enemy, I think. I can attest to that as well. So, Jenny, you were here in Minneapolis for a little bit. Your sister lived out here. What brought you out to L.A.?
Comedy. It's either comedy you need to be, and at the time I thought I wanted a sitcom like all the other comics, and it's either New York or LA, and they did more of the sitcom stuff in LA, but mainly it was the weather and the beaches, and it's like, okay, if I'm going to be a starving artist, I'm going to do it where it's warm and sunny.
Yeah. And it doesn't sound like you're a starving artist now.
Well, no, but I mean, we're not. I'm not starving, but I'm not exactly. I'm not exactly bringing in Ellen's numbers. Although we won't even go there now.
Yeah, I have my own thoughts on her, but
well, you know what? I won't say anything other than she took my comedy buddies. Just was doing this improv troupe. It was called Queer on Their Feet, and it was 3 of us doing comedy. We would each do stand-ups, and then we played improv games together, and it was really super fun. And we were just starting to tour with this guy named Daniel Leary, and he got snatched up by Ellen as one of her writers. So I'm like,
oh, interesting. So you're basically like one person away from Ellen.
Exactly. 1 degree of separation.
Yes.
But I will say this, my pal got me tickets when Cher was on there, so I got to go in and see Cher on Ellen.
All right. Excellent.
There you go.
So some good happened out of that then.
Exactly. It's the least she could do for stealing my guy.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Jeez. I'll be angry at her again. Jenny, that's awesome. It sounds like you've been doing comedy for a long time. Started you on this path? I mean, did you always kind of want to be the funny man?
Well, I always wanted to do something in entertainment, like be an actor or singer or what have you. But I always played sports, and theater and sports when you're in school are always at the same time. So I, went to college and went to the University of Michigan. So I tried the softball team, but I was lucky to get a foul ball at the tryouts. So, I never really did anything, and I just finished going through school. I was working in a research lab, and I just kind of was just sort of thinking about things, and I thought, no one's going to walk in and go, "You there with that white rat, I'm going to take you to Hollywood and be a star." I thought I have to do something about it. I have to try to do something, and I had always made my friends laugh, but I was making the people in the research lab laugh. So I thought, maybe I should try comedy. I've always listened to my Steve Martin albums and whatnot and enjoyed that, and I thought I could give that a try. And I kind of was writing material anyway, just to sort of amuse myself. I lived and worked about 45 minutes away from one another, so I would be, on the way to work, and I hear something on the radio, and I would sort of make a joke about it. "Oh no, it'd be funnier if you said it this way," and then I'd kind of say it a couple times to amuse myself. And I thought, this is really odd behavior. I need to rationalize it somehow. So I went and I watched a few open mic nights. I'm like I said, right at the end of the comedy boom when there were clubs everywhere. And I watched like 4 open mics, and some of the people there were, professional comedians trying out material, and it was really fun. And other people looked as though they had lost a bet because they were just off. I thought, well, I could do at least that well. Just from what I was doing in the car and the way they were, I thought, I think I'd be at least that funny. So one of the open mics, the first one, a kid that I went to, wasn't a kid at the time, but when we were in junior high together, he was a kid. And so I walked up to him, and his name was McLean, Jim McLean. And, McLean and McNulty, we always sat next to one another at school. So we were good buddies. And I'm like, Jim, I don't know if you remember. He goes, oh, my God, Jenny, how are you? And I said, yeah, I want to think I'm going to try this. And he goes, well, all you got to do is get 7 minutes together, and you call up on Thursday and put your name on the list, and then call back on Monday and find out if you made the list or not. And then Monday night was the open mic night. And he goes, but be ready, because Mark, the guy that Mark the Comedy Castle, he goes, if you're new, he'll put you up right away. Like everybody calls in on Thursdays, and he can only put so many people on the bill, and if you're new, he's gonna make sure you've got the 7 minutes. So I was working in this research lab and talking with my friend Chen, who was from Taiwan and spoke English as a second language, and I talk really fast anyway. And we were doing one of our experiments together. We were like in the same room for 12 hours, and he's a great guy. I just loved him to pieces. And I said, I think I want to do this, Chen. He goes, but I need more material. And he goes, you know what? The material will come. You just need stage time. Just go do it. And I thought it made sense coming because I thought between the speed I talk at and the fact that English is his second language, he probably only understands half of what I'm saying, and he still thinks I'm funny. So I thought, all right, let me give it a whirl. So I kind of wrote down some material, and after 4 open mics, I just put my name on the list and tried it, and thank God it went well for the first time, and I just kept doing it.
Wonderful. So it seems like that was kind of a calling for you. It sounds like you just kind of jumped into it head first, and it's been working out ever since.
Yeah, exactly. It's stand-up is one of those things that you can just sort of jump up and do. You know what I mean? It's because you're by yourself. People, a lot of times, actors will say, God, I don't know how you do stand-up all by yourself out there. But for me, I'm like, I don't know how you on acting, but like stage acting is just a whole different animal, because if you mess up your lines, you have messed up the entire scene for everybody standing there, right? And if you've got a really crucial line, like what was that gunshot? Everybody else, you have to remember your line. So for me, that to me is kind of nerve-wracking, but stand up, and you have to like doing it, and because it's this entire field, whether it's acting or singing, anything like this, I guess in every field there's just a lot of rejection. You put a lot of stuff out there, or especially with auditions. Every audition that I've gotten, I've always never really thought that I did well in the audition. And the times that I thought, oh man, for sure I'm going to at least get a callback, and you get nothing. So it's such a crapshoot. And fortunately, again, there are things that in your career or in your life that stick in your head. And another one of those things was going to a workshop when I first got out here, and the guy was talent booker for the Tonight Show, and he was saying, they do these casting workshops where you either pay to do it monthly or you can do it on an individual basis, and the casting will come and you do scenes for them. So you show up at like 4:00, say, whatever, you get a scene and a partner and a couple of hours, and then the casting agents are there and you do your scenes in front of them. So they make a little cash on the side and you get seen, and I suppose people get cast from it, I'm not sure, but I got really good advice from him. And that was this guy who was saying, look, you can't, this to her, goes, a lot of times, he goes, I've seen it. He goes, when I booked commercials, they'll have like, we've already got a redhead, we need a blonde. And it's that simple. It's not your performance. It's just, we already have this, we need that. And, everything is a look out here. So kind of love what you do and keep doing it and hope for a little luck.
Right. And, Jenny, I've heard that before, actually, when I've gone into audition for plays and stuff like that. I think the best quote that I ever heard was, it's not about what you can do, because you can always learn something. It's about how you look, and if the director wants that or not. And to me, like, automatically that sounds so vain, and it just sounds horrible. But it sounds like it kind of goes across the board in the entertainment business.
Pretty much, yeah. Video killed a radio star. MTV knew what they were doing. That was their very first video they showed, and it's true. Now it's not your voice. Heaven forgive me for the Taylor Swift fans there, but come on. How is that woman won that many Grammys an average voice that never varies. That went there. I'm not going to get started on Taylor Swift.
Well,
God bless her. She's doing her thing and getting stuff out there. But
Well-
I got to know there's more talented people out there.
Oh,
Whatever.
yes. Watch this. I'll get a bunch of negative reviews now. But
I know, right? You, Taylor Swift. I was your biggest fan, Crystal, and now I hate you.
yeah. But I think everybody knows that I'm not a huge T Swift fan. So just like I am not a Justin Bieber fan at all.
Oh, come on, the Biebs, man. You're not a believer?
What do you mean, Beaver? Yeah, that's what I thought his name was for a long time. I'm like, oh yeah, that Beaver kid.
Yeah, right.
This younger theater girl get very angry with me and goes, it's not Beaver. And I was like, whoa, okay then.
I'm convinced, because who was it, like Jay-Z and Usher or somebody that created that guy? I'm convinced they were just sitting around smoking a joint going, you know what? We can make a star out of anybody. We can make a star out of a white kid. No, we can make a star out of a Canadian white kid. That's how I think Justin Bieber got created.
So you've been doing comedy for quite a while. You've been out on tours. It sounds like you've done a couple TV shows now and again. What else do you have going on, Jenny?
Oh gosh, you name it. Well, my thing right now that I'm really trying to get going, I have a degree in exercise science, kinesiology.
Okay.
And I've always played sports. Like I said, yesterday I was the announcer. I used to play women's tackle football, and I played like 15 seasons. And when I finally, I started playing at the age of 39, so I had no business being out there. Everything hurt, so I moved up into the booth and I started calling the games, and I loved it. It is so much fun. So that's one of the things that I like to do, and that's kind of more. Although we're kind of actually reached out. A couple other teams have reached out to us, so I call. Anyway, I'm getting distracted.
You're fine.
Right now, I am working on. When the pandemic started, I started doing a chat show, right? A talk show.
Okay.
And I had done it, familiar with the now defunct website After Ellen. I used to do a video blog on there called Walking Funny. And I would interview people while I took a walk. Because I've got a degree in exercise, because I've sports and played sports my whole life, I just really think people could, if they would just exercise, would become so freaking sedentary. And, it's not about how you look. It's not that you're, putting weight on. Some of my football teammates might not look it, but they're in the amazingly good shape. So it's not about the visual, it's about how people feel, what people do. And so I tried to encourage, when I did the old blog, I tried to get people to walk with us. I'm like, hey, I'm walking with this person and we're doing an interview. Come with us. Well, when the pandemic hit, and then I did that show for I did 3 seasons of it or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was I was paying for the cameraman. I was doing all that on my own. It just got to be a little too much. So I kind of put that aside for a bit. And then when the pandemic hit, I started doing a chat. My partner is she's a producer and an editor. So between the two of us, we just have all the equipment you can have to make whatever you need to make. We've got all the production equipment from cameras and lights. So I put up a green screen and I started, because I'm a ridiculous Cher fan. So I start the show I took a picture from Architectural Diet of Cher's infinity pool. It's the picture I use for my background. So it looks like it doesn't look like I really am doing my show from Cher's house. So kind of like where we started in front of the green screen there. And then I do an interview with someone. And then I go back in front of the green screen and take a walk on the beach, and I'm encouraging people out there to get up and move. So it's just get moving, get out of your chair, get off the couch, just do something, get physically fit. Then instead of doing the whole interview walking, I just sort of encourage them to go walk around the block. Really, 20 minutes a day of a brisk walk can totally change your life. It can get you off all kinds of medicines, increase your blood profiles of everything. It's good for your heart. It's good for your brain. So that's my goal, is to get people moving. I just dove in when the pandemic started. I think it was my way of dealing with it. So for a while I was doing them 5 days a week. I just finished my 200th show. I cut back to 3 days a week a couple of months in. It was called the In-House Comedy Chat, and because we're not going to be stuck in the house anymore, and because when I would call people up to interview them, they'd be like, but I'm not really fun. Well, no, you don't have to be. The show, the monologue in front is funny. You don't have to worry about it. So I thought, let me just change it up a little bit. So I got a new logo. I'm calling it Chat and Go. It's Jennie McNulty. It's going to be starting probably June, I'm guessing, because we got to get it. I want to get a new website and get all that, my ducks in a row, and then just launch it and really hope it goes somewhere, because I try to keep it positive. The tagline for it is more than a talk show. We're uplifting your mind, body, spirit. And that's what I try to do. So in the beginning, I do a little funny monologue, and then I do the interview with people. And hopefully, I'm vaccinated fully now, so I'll be able to walk in person with people again and maybe record some interviews that way. And then at the back end, if I do the walk there, maybe do stretching or whatever. But it's just trying to keep a positive message. I'm plant-based, so I try to throw some of that information in there as often as I can. Not heavy-handed. I don't show awful animal things, or I try not to be too much finger wagging. I don't think you really change people's minds telling them what they should do, right? You kind of want to make them want to do it. One of my old coaches said, you got to wanna, and you really do. You have to want to make those changes in your life. So instead of going, oh my God, 70 billion animals are killed every year, or, the environment is going to be toast by 2050 if we change things. I don't think you get people to sway their opinions much with that. So I try to bring him with positivity and go, hey, look at these cute animals. Isn't that cute? Now, you know what else? You can have this cheese here that's made out of coconut oil and there's no animals. So I come at it that way and see what happens. So that's my thing right now.
Yeah, Jenny, that sounds absolutely amazing and fabulous. I
Thank you.
really hope it goes well. I'm looking forward to seeing your new website and seeing what you've got going on.
Yes, thank you very much. I will definitely hit you up and let you know about it.
Perfect. I look forward to it. Jenny, can we jump into something you kind of said earlier? You had said that you were with a partner who was a man, and you gave the quote, I thought I was a straight woman. Where does that come from, and kind of how does that fit into your life?
When I look back, it's ridiculous. I thought I was a straight. I just never saw. I'm in my late 50s now, and I don't. When I was in high school, I never saw an image of myself, and if you looked at gays and lesbians back then, guys were all just in tutus and acting really crazy, or the women were big, scary, psychopaths or whatever. And I wasn't attracted to that. I didn't feel I was that. So I thought, I can't be gay, right? So that's not what I am. And there was a lot of internalized homophobia, I'm sure, but so for the longest time, I just, kept trying to play the game. I just kind of realized I was journaling, actually. I was journaling about things I fear. I thought, all right, what do you fear? And I thought, I fear people think I'm gay. I'm like, okay, who thinks you're gay? And it was like, me. So I sort of let myself go there in my mind. And what I did when I was journaling, I said to myself, if I lived 99 and I don't have a relationship with a woman, would I regret that? And immediately I thought, yes, I would. So I thought, all right, then let's just see where this is, investigate this. And my sister is, at the time, she identified as bi, but she's gay as well. So I was able to talk to her about it, and I just, once I gave my mind the freedom to go there, or my conscience, or whatever you want to call it, the Catholic guilt chip that's in my head, once I enabled myself to think that could be a possibility, then it was like everything started to make sense. And it was almost as though this whole creature got dropped onto the planet. I saw women as just so differently than I had before. Not that I was attracted to every woman out there. I'm just saying it was just different. And everything really did start to make sense. So once I came out of the closet, to myself, I just kind of came. I was 37. So at that point in your life, I think, at that point in my life, I was single. I didn't have any children. It wasn't like, if you're 37 and you've got 3 kids, saying, oh, by the way, I'm gay is a far more difficult thing than me. I mean, at the time, my ex and I were broken up for, I think, a year or two. So it's like everything made sense. And I look back at my life, I've played every sport imaginable. It's just like any stereotype you could check, other than I don't build shit well. But other than that, I'm pretty obviously gay. So once I came out in life at that age, I was, fairly confident that your friends aren't going to ditch you. And I mean, so in the entertainment field, it's not as cut and dried as some other straight-laced, pardon the pun. So, I started coming out on stage, and then everything just sort of fell into place.
That's so encouraging to hear. Jenny, that's wonderful. I am so glad that you found yourself and you were able to be authentic with yourself. I think that's the problem that a lot of people have, is they're not able, or they don't feel comfortable being authentically themselves. And I'm not saying that everybody has a gay tendency or what have you, but there's a line between just living life and living life authentically. So that's a pretty proud moment that you were able to live your life authentically. And it seems like it's kind of paid off in the long run now too.
Absolutely. I mean, it's easier if you're not if you're hiding it from yourself and you don't know you're hiding it. It's still a lot of mental energy that you're spending unnecessarily, and people give the millennials and that a hard time for all the labels and names and everything, but honestly, it is a spectrum of things. Like, people always go, "Well, did you like sex, men?" And my standard answer is, "Yeah, but I've had some pretty swell times masturbating too. Doesn't mean I want to live alone."
I
So
love it.
it's who you're attracted to. It's who, whatever. And whether people are bi or gay or straight, it really doesn't matter unless you're hurting someone, or lying to them, saying that you are who you're not. And I think we'll get there again, unless we burn ourselves up. We'll get there. We've got one of two options for the human race. We're either going to get our shit together or not.
Yes, yes. Hopefully, you and I will be long gone before that happens.
Right?
I'm not talking about getting our poop in a group. I mean, that'd be amazing, but definitely. Jenny, can we talk about your comedy troupe that you had, Queer on Your Feet? How did that come about? Did you just meet some people and the ball just started rolling, or did you have to kind of search these people out?
Well, what I did was I was in an improv troupe, and every Friday we would just do shows, and it was, we weren't touring or anything. It was just fun. And one night, and I forget why, they had me do like 5 minutes of stand-up first. And I had such a much more fun improving that night. I was quicker, I was funnier, and the more I thought about it, I thought, it really makes sense because it loosens up the audience. Like, in improv, and this was like, it was a troupe. We had a crowd, but a lot of the same people each week, so they knew who we were. They knew we were funny. And with improv, part of what people enjoy is kind of watching the actors squirm a little bit. If they think that they're not funny, then they don't enjoy the watching the squirm. Then they feel like they've somehow cheated, watching a bunch of crappy performers. So it's kind of good for a couple of reasons. You do the comedy first, it warms up the audience. It warms up the comedians. And it gives the audience a sense of who they are, and what kind of humor they have. And so you sort of know them and you accept them as funny. So then when you see them playing improv later, you sort of go along the ride with it. It just makes for a really a much better show, I think, as an improver. So I just reached out to other comics I knew that toured, and it changed people a couple of different times because, I gotta tell you, I think in some former life, I must have walked all over people, because now it's like anybody I work with, they go on to great things. I was like, hell, what, where's my thing? Anyway, so every time I would book people, they'd like get a series or get something. I'm like, okay, good, fine, have a good time. So I just kept reaching out to comics that I knew did improv, that I knew were funny, that I knew I could tour with, and we just started doing it. And it's a really fun show to do. And like I said, it warms everybody up, the audience, the crowd. Makes for a fun show.
Yes, fabulous, Jenny, fabulous. So, Jenny, you've got another show kind of coming out. It sounds like it'll be online. You're gonna be filming and doing interviews with people and walking and exercising with people. Can we talk a little bit about your sports path? You went to school for sports medicine. Is that right?
Oh, you know what? I went to school. I got a degree. Went to the University of Michigan. Wasn't quite sure. Majored in psychology. Got my degree in that. And the last year, I was trying to decide what to do, and I met this woman who was talking about athletic training, and I thought, that might be something that would be cool. So I went back, because at the time, he was just starting their kinesiology program. So I went back in and got my master's in kinesiology, because I had thought athletic training, and the way it was set up at the time, you could either be an athletic trainer or cardiac rehab or corporate fitness. So I did the training, did a volunteer, not a volunteer, like an internship school for 4 months at a PT clinic. And I thought, oh God, I don't want to do this. I don't want to tape ankles, because people don't want to hear they have to exercise. They want a pill. They want to go in and get a pill and be healthy again, and not have to do all the exercises they have to do. So I thought, okay, I don't want to do that. So then I did a cardiac rehab internship, and I honestly didn't like the pressure of like you have to read the EKG, put these people that have a heart condition on a treadmill. It was too stressful for me. I thought, nah, I don't want to do that either. So I was headed toward the corporate fitness, which would have been, who knows, that would have been it. At the time, it was in a newer field too. But it's like, if you look at all the reports, will tell you that if you've got fit employees, there's less absenteeism. They're healthier. You spend less money. Mm-hmm. And like, I was in school in Ann Arbor, and Domino's is headquartered there, and he's a freak and a weirdo, but Tom Monahan did set up a really cool thing at the headquarters. They had a really nice cafeteria with healthy food in it. He had a big gym that they built there, and at the time they were doing that, but there was like a corporate fitness thing, so he was really into keeping his employees healthy, and Domino's worked with the University of Michigan because they were right there in the same place. So that's probably the track I would have gone. When I was in the last year, it was just before I graduated, my parents were going to retire and move to Florida, and I did not want to go with them. So I just looked at the job board, and it said small animal surgery. And I'm vegan now. I can't believe I don't think I could do the job now, but at the time, and I love science. I still do. I like science fiction and those kind of things. So to me, that was like fun. So I got the job and was just doing that for a while. But as far as my own like studying for that, that's what I would have done. And if I always loved research, I didn't like writing the paper part of it, but I liked the concept of it and doing that. So I might have gone into exercise science had I not gone into and get the job. So I started working at the lab, and it was working in the lab that made me do it. So then I just kind of bailed on that until I got back the walking show. I just sort of let the degree go. But that's like, I really do believe in exercise and what it can do for people. So I would have probably done something a little bit more with that. But that's what I intend to do. It was sort of like this led to that, and then years later I started using it.
Jenny, that's absolutely wonderful to hear. Now I'm doing podcasting and I'm able to connect with people. So it's kind of interesting how things happen, maybe possibly the way that they were meant to.
Yeah. Isn't that was the expression something life has happened while you're planning something? Life is what happens while you're planning it, or something like that. I don't know.
Yes.
I'm butchering that quote. But.
No, Jenny, I totally get it. So your show, the walking show?
Yeah.
Yep. So that's going to come out here fairly shortly.
It's still going to be chat and go. So the main thrust of it is going to be getting people to stand up and exercise with me at the end. Just get up. Just get out of your chair and stand up and move in place. Now go. Now just go out the door, keep walking for 15 minutes a day. And, like a quote I frequently say on the show is if you ask anybody in any gym, any city, in any land, what is the hardest part of your workout, they will all tell you getting to the gym. You know what I mean? It's like once you're there, that's the hard part, is getting up and getting there. So if they just at least stand up with me, I'm hoping to encourage them to, even if they just walk around the house, like I have a tendency to pace when I'm talking on the phone. So a lot of times, if you have a long conversation with somebody, I will have paced around the house for 15 minutes. I mean, it's not a brisk walk, but it's for so many of us, just literally walking around the house will tire people out. We are not a fit group as Americans, as anybody really.
Yeah, we're not as fit as we used to be, possibly in the.
And part of that is the food we're eating too. It's getting, and I mean, not even by society, just in general, with all the crap that's in everything we're eating. It's different than what it was.
Yes.
Even 50 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Different. Yeah, I can attest to that. I went over to Scotland. I was lucky enough to go there for about 2 weeks, and the food over there was real. Like my brain knew it was real food, and I don't know, something in my mind just clicked, and I couldn't get enough of it. It was so good. And then I come back here and it's just fine.
But it's the good news is people are paying more attention to it now, and when the pandemic out those meatpacking plants, a lot of people tried the plant-based stuff, and that's my thing too. Is I'm not telling you to give up meat, because telling them to do it isn't going to make them not want to. But you go, okay, look, I'm not telling you to give up meat. I'm just saying try this veggie burger, try this black bean sweet potato burger, and if you don't like it, then fine, then. Go eat your cup, but you might really enjoy this, and you will feel better. So I sort of came to I gave up red meat in the 80s when I was doing aerobics and getting all fit and all them good little things, and then in I think it was like 2010. I saw this thing at Pride about, what they did to the chickens and the turkeys. And I won't go into detail because that's not my point. My point is just I felt like, okay, let me just fry this because that just looked awful. It looked really cruel. And all I kept thinking was, they're okay. I'll get a little graphic. They're all like, we go to dry cleaning racks. When they pull your clothes up, how they come on that big, like circular. That's sort of like with the chickens and turkeys. They're hung up by their feet and removed from their heads, and they don't think, "Oh dear, I'm hanging upside down, about to be turned into a McNugget." They just know fear. They don't know it and how much of it they process, but they know enough to be upset. And so you got to figure the last second that thing that your dinner had on the planet was with terror. And I don't know if if you're taking that in, maybe, I don't know, everything is all energy. If you think about it, it's all energy. So it was just so cruel. And it was the whole, eating their horror aspect that I thought, let me just give this a try. And because honestly, what I found when I gave up the chicken and the turkey, because I gave up red meat a long time ago, all I missed were the condiments. I like ketchup, I like barbecue sauce. I'm like, that's all I really miss. You give me a good veggie burger, I can slap some ketchup on it, we're all good. So
there you go.
For me, it was also easy. I'm not gonna lie. For some people that really love the taste of those things, I never liked pork, I never liked bacon, I never liked cream sauces or Alfredo sauces or anything like that. So for me, it wasn't that hard to do. So I try to bring people along, but I'm not going to shake my finger at anybody because A, they won't listen, and B, it's a waste of finger energy. That sounded really gross as that came out. I did not mean that the way that came out, but
that's okay, Jenny. That's okay. Jenny, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with me and the wider world about your comedy, your shows, your insight. You are a multifaceted, multi-talented individual. Thank you so much.
Right back at you, Crystal. Thanks for doing what you do. And, enjoy Minnesota out there because it's a great place. But your Vikings are going down this year. Yeah, they are. You betcha. My Lions
of course they are
going to beat your Vikings.
All right. I actually don't partake in sports, so that's
You're missing out. It's the greatest game in the world. All right, this interview's over.
I know, right? See you around. Jennie McNulty, everyone. Jenny, thank you so much again. I wish you luck with all your endeavors, and this will not be the last time we speak.
I hope. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.